All right, so here we go. Sorry, I had to separate this video. So here's the first problem right here that let's look at without me solving it. So step one, I'm saying set it up. So what I mean is we're going to take what we got right here. So I'm going to say we got 2x minus 2, bam, 8. And then because an absolute value has two answers, we're going to take that same sign, opening up the same direction, and we got to put a negative 8. So this has to come over here, become negative, and keep that same symbol. Now we're going to just solve this like we normally would, and then we'll create the number line. So if I'm solving for x, right, solving for x, first I got to get rid of this minus 2. We know the opposite of a minus 2 is adding 2, but what I do to one side, I need to do to both of my sides. I'm going to add 2 here, add 2 here, and then let's just go ahead and solve that. What do I get when I solve that? This right here, negative 8 plus 2 is a negative 6. Bam. We have 2x left in the middle now. Bam. And then we have 10. All right, I still don't have x by itself because this right here is 2 times x. There's not a time symbol in there, but that's just times. And so we know the opposite of times is to divide. So I want to divide this by 2, but I need to do that to both of my sides. Divide this by 2, divide by 2. All right, and then let's just solve it. So negative 6 divided by 2 is a negative 3. Keep the same sign. Now I have x by itself, or negative 2 divided by negative 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 and 1x are the same thing, right? Bam. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, now that I have x by itself, or 1x, same thing. Now that I have x by itself, here's what we need to do. We need to draw my number line. Okay, draw my number line, and then 0 will always go in the middle, and the two numbers that we have on the left side and the right side go just anywhere right here. We'll say negative 3 and 5. Okay, now here's where we have to know how to read the statement in order for us to actually do the shading part. So real quick, let's just look at this side right here. When I'm reading this, what does this say? I always start with the x. This says your x values are less than, because this sign is opening the other way. Your x values are less than negative 3. So if this is negative 3, which side is your x values less than negative 3? Well, that direction, right? I want to keep going this direction because negative 4 is a lesser number, right? It's owing more money, basically, so I'm going to shade that direction. So draw a little arrow. Okay, so and then it goes right there. So, all right, and then because we know we're using this symbol, this is going to be a parentheses, not a bracket, but parentheses. And then you read the other side. What does this say? Sorry. Do this to this. This over here, this says all your x values greater than 5. So if you're starting at 5, which side would your x values be greater than 5? They'd be on this side. So then you shade that direction right there. Bam. And because we're using a parentheses here. All right. So here's what I mean by that gap in the middle. Here's where we have two separate answers. And if we ever have this gap, we have to use this union symbol right there. Let me actually do a different color. Let me move this over here, sorry. All right, so then we have to use this union symbol like that because we have to say it's these two. So my two answers, this is going to be from negative 3, comma. Now what's the farthest direction? This is going all the way to what? Negative infinity? Because that's all your negative directions. We never actually are ever going to be included to negative infinity, so use a parentheses. And because of this symbol right here, we use this sign right here, right? And then this is 5. And because we have that symbol without the equal to, bam, comma, and this 5 is going all the way to what? Positive infinity? Or I think you're just going to write infinity on your assignment. So, bam, and we actually never include it. So here's the answer for that question right here. It's going to be this all right here. That's how you would do it. All right, so let's do the next problems real quick. So if I was to set this one up, step 1 is set it up, right? So I'm going to write the original equation I have, or inequality 4, parentheses x minus 1, close it off, plus 2. Keep that sign, but because this is an absolute value, I know I have a negative 10, so we need to write that same symbol again and put a negative 10 here. That was step 1. Step 2 is just go and solve for x. So we always work outward in when I'm solving for x, so, sorry. I'm not going to be touching this yet. I got to move this plus 2. And we know the opposite of plus 2 is going to be minus 2. But what I do to one side, I need to do to both of my sides. And let's just go ahead and keep solving. So what does this give me right here? So it's going to be a negative 12. keep that symbol. What do I still have left? If this is gone, I still have 4 parentheses x minus 1 parentheses, close it off. And then 10 minus 2 is 8. All right, we're still solving for x, so we have to know that anytime I have 4 and a parentheses, what this means is this is multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying would be to divide, right? So I want to divide by 4, so I can cancel this 4 out. But what I do to one side, oops, sorry, I should have put it by red. What I do to one side, I have to do to both of my sides. Divide by 4, divide by 4. All right, now let's simplify. What do we have? Negative 12 divided by 4 is going to be a negative 3. Bam, keep that symbol. So what do I still have left inside? I still have x minus 1. Keep that. 8 divided by 4 is 2. All right, so I'm almost done getting x by itself. I know that if I'm subtracting by 1, the opposite would be adding 1, adding 1, adding 1. All right, cool. So what do we have left? We have negative 3 plus 1 is a negative 2. Do that symbol right there, and then we have x, because x is by itself now. We do this, and 2 plus 1 is 3. All right, now that I have my statement, let's go ahead and draw my number line to see if it's a gap or there's no gap. Boom, boom. We know 0 is all in the middle. I'm going to use 3 here. I'm going to use negative 2. All right, now we have to know how to read the statement. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to look at this here, and we always start with x. So this says all my x values greater than or equal to negative 2. So greater than or equal to negative 2, here's where we're starting. Would this be greater than or equal to negative 2, or would this be greater than or equal to? These numbers are bigger, greater than, so I'm going to shade on this side right here. So I'm going to shade up to 0 for right now. All right, so then we got to read the second side. We go over here, I do this. What does this say? This says all my x values less than or equal to 3. So if I'm starting here, which side are your x values less than 3? They're going to be over here. So now, since these two lines touched, it's just that one answer. It's just a one inequality. So the one notation. So since I'm using these symbols right here, we know we get a bracket here. And this is going to tell me I'm getting a bracket here. And then let's go write my answer. We take the farthest number on the left, which is negative 2, comma, the farthest number on the right, which happens to be 3. And we have a bracket, and we have a bracket. All right, let's do the last one. I think you have one more. All right, here's the last one. Same thing, step 1 says set it up. So if you want to pause this video, try to do it yourself, and then play the video, you can do that. So step 1, I'm going to set it up. So we got 4x plus 4 over 7. Bam, bam. But because this is an absolute value, I know I have a negative 1. So I'm going to keep that same symbol opening that way. Put a negative 4 right here. And then step 2 is solve for x. So we always work outward in. So, and if we have a fraction, we always have to get rid of the fraction first before I can touch the top. So if this is, and it's just what it is, right? This is everything is being divided by 7. So if everything is being divided by 7, I want to multiply everything times 7, times 7, and times 7, because that's the opposite of it. So what I would say here is the way that I do, I just say, okay, multiply times 7. But what I do to one side, I have to do the other side. So let me actually, get rid of this little bar. So I'm going to multiply this times 7 and multiply this times 7. Dividing by 7, multiply by 7. All right, so what happens is this cancels out. The bottom and that 7 cancel out. So now let's write down what we have. Negative 7 times, 7 times a negative 4 is going to be a negative 28. Keep that same symbol. Once that cancels out, what do I still have left? I still have 4x plus 4, bam, and then 28. And if this is what's confusing you, just the solving for x part, just let me know and I can find some other stuff and explain that to you. All right, so next, again, I want x by itself. So before I can touch the x, I actually got to get rid of this, and then I can mess with that 4 in front of there. So if I'm adding 4, we know the opposite would be subtracting 4. Oops. All right, so let me go ahead and do minus 4 here. But what I do to one side, I need to do to both of my sides. Bam. All right, so what do we got left here? Negative 28 minus 4 is a negative 32. Keep this symbol. So we have 4x. Bam. And 24 minus 4 is going to be, 28 minus 4 is going to be a 24. Bam. All right. So then what's happening here? We know this is 4x, but in mathematical terms, this is actually 4 times x. And if it's times x, we know the opposite of times is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 4 here, divide by 4 here, divide by 4 here. All right, hopefully you guys can use calculators if this is like the adding integers and minus and negatives confuses you. But all right, so now we got negative 32 divided by 4 is a negative 8. Bam. This gives me 1x or x, and this gives me 6. All right, yeah. So then, after we have that, let's go ahead and draw my number line. So I'm gonna draw my number line real quick. Bam, bam. Again, this is where 0 is. We take this 6 here and put this negative 8 here. Bam. All right, so then you just ask yourself, let's read this statement, see what this statement says. Move this bad boy real quick. Hold on, sorry, get my highlighter. All right, so I'm gonna read this one first. What does that say? This is all my x values greater than negative 8. So if here's negative 8, which side is greater than negative 8? I would say that side. All right, so let me shade on that side. Up to 0, I'll shade up to there. All right, next, I'm gonna read this statement right here. X, what does this say? All my x values less than 6. So if here's 6, all my x values less than 6, I have to go that direction. So now that we know these two are joined, it's just gonna be one answer. So how would you write this? You would take the farthest number on the left, which is negative 8, farthest number on the right, which is 6, and then do I use a parentheses or a bracket? Because I'm using these symbols right here. We use a parentheses and a parentheses, and that is how you do inequality notation for absolute value. Hope this video is helpful.